Good evening. My name is Corey Sloan. This is my Education 7500 Technology course presentation for Dr. Joshua Bernstein's class at AT Still University. What I'm going to be talking to you about this evening is Adobe Connect. We're going to go through the technology course based on the following items. I'm going to introduce you to Adobe Connect, which I use at Oklahoma State University. We're going to talk about the benefits of Adobe Connect from the professor, the student, and the institution perspective. And then we're going to go through the course setup and delivery of Adobe Connect. One thing I did try was a trial uh, preview of Adobe Connect, and it was limited, so I wasn't able to get the full effects allowed by Adobe Connect. So what I did is I went to the Adobe Connect website and found their embedded video overview and added it into our presentation. And in the conclusion, I'll talk to you a little bit about the literature that was found and discovered during my research for this presentation. First of all, Adobe Connect is very useful for traditional and e-learning. It's an online virtual classroom or for streaming video for those that are learning in a self-paced environment, depending on what the institution is following curriculum-wise and learning management system-wise. It's accessible from any internet-capable device, smartphone, tablet, computer, whatever device you have that's available to access the internet, you can use Adobe Connect. And we log in like either right on the campus or you're halfway across the world. The thing that I liked about Adobe Connect, especially in my qualitative analysis class at Oklahoma State, was the breakout sessions. We were allowed to work with partners from distance learning or from those that are on the campus at Oklahoma State. File sharing, one of the most prominent ones is PowerPoint and or Adobe PDF. We didn't use Whiteboard a lot, but it was there and we could use it if we needed to. The thing that I like about it is the professor has control over the web platform delivery, and he or she can allow for the student to have control if you're doing a PowerPoint or PDF presentation. You can also monitor the students' participation with engagement monitoring, and that is an administrative feature built into Adobe Connect, which I found very interesting when I had the free trial. But again, it was limited on what I could do with it, which most softwares are whenever you download them as a free trial. The thing of it is, it's customizable. You can make it your own virtual classroom. Just like you set up your traditional classrooms, you can set up this virtual online classroom the same way by allowing what type of technology is available and what you're going to be using in the class to make your presentations to your students to make the learning environment as rich as possible. And there's many interactive options that go with that. Chat rooms, polls, links, file downloading and file sharing. There's a whole host of things that Adobe Connect allows you to. For example, prerequisites. It can list prerequisites. You can also show test out options. So it gives you a chance to allow the non-traditional student who may have the experience to be able to test out of certain areas, if allowed by the institution, to test out of that particular aspect of the course and proceed on to the next level. Also have enrollment management. We didn't use that a whole lot at Oklahoma State University, so I'm not real familiar with it, but I can see where it would be a great benefit as a professor. The reminder notifications we used every week, where the professor would send out the reminder notification, which contained the URL link for the class for that week, as well as any special announcements regarding readings or any articles that we had to have available and completed before class that we were ready to go when class starts. Course catalog, self-enrollment, that's something we didn't use at Oklahoma State University. The administrative side of the trial version didn't allow me access to that. You can get detailed learner reports on the students to determine if they're being engaged and being active in the class. You can tell if they pause their video, if they're there, if they're not there, and kind of gives you a good idea on what your students are doing. Traditionally, you can see them in the classroom, and distance learning makes it more difficult because you're looking at them through a video camera. Your curriculum is enhanced with learner enrollment management. You also have a different variety of technology plugins. PowerPoint, Adobe Presenter, those were the two main ones we used for PDF document presentations. And the thing that really is good about this, the technological standards that are out there, SCORM, SCORM, or AICC, you can create the content within Adobe Connect, and you can publish it across those various platforms, and you're within the technological standards that are accepted within the industry. You can provide for synchronous and asynchronous learning, so you can actually have a class from 7:20 to 10 o'clock on a Thursday night, or you can make it available and record it, and the student can learn at a self-paced speed. So they can go back and look at it at any time that they want to. They can also look at those hyperlinks that I mentioned, and they can also download files. It does offer cost savings over large learning management systems. I don't know exactly what that is. It didn't get into it in the literature and or on the Adobe website. One thing I did find interesting during my research is you can integrate it with the learning management system. They mentioned one LMS, but they didn't mention Blackboard specifically, but I would imagine that you probably could integrate Adobe Connect into Blackboard. The cost they listed on their website was $370 per month. I presume that's for one course, not one curriculum or program, and that's up to 200 participants, so you can have a fairly large institution and class size and still be able to use Adobe Connect. And the trial version that I have is the same Adobe Connect learning solution. It says it provides all the premium level benefits. Trust me, it does not. But if you do purchase it, the Adobe Connect learning solution does provide you all those premium level benefits for the traditional student that's in the classroom with you on campus, as well as a distance learner. And it's really a big part of the entire curriculum development, instructional design of the virtual classroom that the professor wants, he or she wants. You can do a lot of things, like I mentioned, the chat, the file downloads, the hyperlinks, those type of things that can really engage and enrich the learning experience of your students. And this is an example of what Adobe Connect looks like from the traditional classroom side, looking back to the television there on the wall, showing the distance learner and who's present in the room and the chat room and that type of thing, and being able to really engage and bring about a positive learning environment for students. This is the part we get into where I actually had the trial, and this is the course setup. I'm actually doing a class with another professor at AT Still University this semester, and I'm working on an instructional design called Active Shooter Response Planning. I just named it CDM 9500. In this particular example, I just showed week 1 and what we would cover. Pretty simple. The next part is the content, or select the content. You can add all kinds of content into your program. In this particular case, I added the Department of Homeland Security's Active Shooter Response Planning document that would be able to be shared with the students, and we can go through that piece by piece and chapter by chapter if we chose, or there's the areas that I highlighted, and we can have a great instructional period with really good enriched learning. The enrollment part, this is important for the faculty or the professor on who gets to be there. In this case, administrators, authors, training managers, learners, or the students, meeting hosts, or the primary faculty in this case, which would be me. Here's the notifications we talked about that would be sent out to the students for the course. I don't have it sent here in the trial version to send it all, but you can send it by specific date. This is what sends out that universal resource locator, that URL, for the students to be able to click on to be able to gain access to the room. Again, they use their university credentials, username and password to gain access to the room. And then once you get in the room, the moderators are there, which is usually a teaching assistant or maybe the professor themselves that assists with operating the room. And there it is. Active Shooter Response Planning is all set up and ready to go. And this is where the trial side of Adobe Connect ended. So I'm not able to show you that. But what I did do is I did go online and find at the Adobe Connect or the Adobe website on YouTube a video that walks us right through it. So that's where we're headed to next. There's what it looks like. The video.
Adobe Connect really allows you to create the most engaging type of experience online for a virtual classroom. It really takes online learning to a new level. Students stay engaged because they're able to participate in interactive training and really communicate with both the instructor and with their fellow students.
This is the Pantone Color Grid.
You can share video, you can share MP3s, you can share audio, you can even add interactive components that students participate in, whether it's a poll right through to a virtual online game. In government and enterprise alike, training departments are facing reduced budgets for travel, reduced staffing, and they're still expected to train as many, if not more, of the employees as they did before. With Adobe Connect, they can really reach that audience quickly and easily.
We don't have to send service members to training. Rather, we can bring the training to them when and where they need it. And there's a tremendous savings in travel and efficiencies that way.
One of the things we found with budgets being what they are today, travel budgets are decimated. Not only was there a lot of cost, there's a lot less productivity during travel times.
Once a presentation has been published, it can actually be leveraged in a variety of curriculums. It can be used in virtual classes, or it can be deployed as a standalone course. It's very easy for a trainer or an instructor to take existing materials such as PowerPoint, to turn them into rich courses using Adobe Presenter, and then deploy that to a large number of students without a lot of setup. It's really important for students to be able to access training from anywhere. The beauty of Adobe Connect is that it works seamlessly across browsers, across mobile devices. You don't have to install anything. They simply attend through a browser.
We see a great potential with the possibility of linking into the meeting rooms through mobile devices. People are always on the run, and it gives them the opportunity to actually join these sessions wherever they are.
What really sets Adobe Connect apart is that when watching a recording of a class, you actually can participate as the students did during the live class. You can still download files that were available. You can click on links that were posted. You can even participate in any of the applications, such as a simulation, even though you're watching a recording. That allows a trainer to be able to leverage the investment made in creating a particular piece of content so they don't have to recreate it every time.
Training is a huge part of Xerox. And now that we have Adobe Connect, we have rapid e-content. We can reach people in Turkey, in Russia, in New York, in China, in Canada. You give them a 5-minute tour at the beginning of a virtual classroom session, and they are now familiar with and able to use Adobe Connect in seconds.
Adobe Connect allows instructors to really keep track of how well their students are doing and to see their success by being able to see an individual and see how well they're doing and how they're progressing through either a course or a curriculum, or by seeing an overall picture, getting a report on how well their class is doing as a whole. It's really important in a virtual classroom to be able to see each other. A lot of organizations have to do government-mandated training. They have to ensure that it's delivered to the right person, that it's tracked. By using Adobe Connect, they have that secure mechanism to ensure that their employees are compliant with these government regulations. It's easy to integrate Adobe Connect into your existing learning management solution. So if you're using a product like Plateau or SumTotal, you can add Adobe Connect as the virtual classroom component. Or you can use Adobe Connect by itself for on-demand content or live virtual classes. Organizations are delivering thousands of classrooms using Adobe Connect every day. They can reach more students in less time. And that's really important to them.
All right. The last part of this is the reference section, and what I want to talk about is Society for Information Technology and Teacher Education at the International Conference in 2008. They looked at 4 different type of technology platforms for delivering e-learning or distance learning, and most of the research indicated this. There's not really one that's better than the other. It's entirely driven by the institution and the professor. A, what they can afford, and B, what they're comfortable with and what works the best for them for their traditional and distance learning environments. So it's really up to you on what you want to do. I personally was attuned to the Adobe Connect at Oklahoma State, and I really like that. Not saying anything bad about the Blackboard LMS, but the Adobe Connect allows you to be able to see your fellow classmates and your students. So it'd be nice to be able to have that integrated at some point in the future. So hope you enjoyed the class and have a great weekend.